Our webinar today is looking at marketing, but not just on a solo shop, but as you continue to scale and build kind of multi-shop locations, what your marketing and brand needs to look like. And so, regardless if you're currently at multi-locations or if you are at one, but your goal is to get to multiple eventually, then hopefully this webinar will be very much in handy for you as we continue to look around and see what things you need to do as you apply and continue to grow. So just an agenda as we break it down. So first we'll go over some of the challenges and the headwinds of multi-shop marketing and the differences that you'll definitely see between a single location and multiple locations. We'll be looking over a scalable marketing system because again, you want a system that gets created as you continue to implement marketing across multiple shops. Brand specialization, that's going to be a big one in terms of your branding, what that needs to look like. Local marketing strategies in your different areas, tools and tech that help do some of these functions, and then tracking and analytics across the board. Okay, so hopefully these things are different categories that sound good and will apply to what you are sort of expecting from this webinar. So first and foremost, some of the challenges of multi-shop marketing. And again, these challenges are things that we see across the board, either that I've heard from multi-shop owners or like that they're currently experiencing, and then different kind of feedback and things that we've had to help solve when it comes to multi-shops. And so these are some of the things of why it can be tricky. And so brand consistency versus local relevance. And so in that sense of where's the give and take tend to happen? Like, is it all about brand and what that cohesion should be? Or then how does that brand then coincide with multiple different local cities and making sure that there's that relevance though that's unique enough to a given city of where that shop is located. And then tracking performance across multiple locations. So sometimes the dashboards of, especially on the marketing ends of things, gets a little bit messy of like what is working for what location. Is there a roll up feature? Is there are things getting blended on accident of where things are pointing to? And so making sure that you're able to understand what is working in different areas, because not the same thing will always work in a given location. And then resource allocation and workflow efficiency. And so in terms of like, should the budget be the same across the board for all shops? Should they be different? And again, it's all, typically the answer is always going to be, it depends. And very much so in terms of the budget allocation, it's going to depend upon goals and things that you want to push towards there. And so why it's different. So marketing one shop is obviously just marketing for one thing. And so, but when you're running multiple locations, it becomes a much grander challenge of, so say for example, some people they have one shop and they acquire the second one. And then now they're debating on like, oh, do we keep the current brand of the acquisition? Do we change the brand to make it one uniform brand? Do we change the names of both locations to now make it one brand holistically across the board? Those are, again, some of the early onset questions that take place, and an answer will be very much, it depends. Like, so if you're acquiring a new shop, it depends on the longevity of said business and kind of the clientele of how they go about believing in this shop. Or if you're acquiring, say, an old franchise and you're like, oh, I want to rip and replace that, then that's where I think that direction makes a lot of sense. And with branding cohesion, having one name across multiple areas does create more and more power now with Google. And so Google is relying a lot heavier on brand type searches. So with brand type searches just means typing in a business name. And so as you have multiple locations, that inherently proves to Google that you have a little bit more trust in the area. That's why you're potentially a more successful business owner, because you have more locations, and thus things tend to rank a little bit stronger. And because again, at the end of the day, Google is trying to create the most trust with their system, so people keep using Google. And the more trustworthy you seem, the higher and more likelihood that you will have to rank. And so those are definitely different things that you want to consider as you are building multi-locations. And say you're like, hey, my goal is to have 5 locations eventually. It may make a lot of sense to have, hey, one branding image across the board. That's going to be a good model to then place somewhere else, especially if there's a fairly close proximity within the local area where like, hey, that brand is now holding some power. Why not leverage that into a new shop and kind of enhance that ability of marketing on the early onset? So you're not working on building a new brand or continuing to uplift a different brand that maybe had a different voice than what your current brand has, because that all becomes a little messy to keep track of at times. And so you want to ensure that you understand the vision that you want to have, and then make sure you're continuing to like push towards those things. So each shop has different customer bases, neighborhoods, competition, but your brand at the end of the day still needs to feel unified. Because again, your team members and the culture that you're building and the mission statement and all the vision that you have should be uniform across the board. So one employee should be able to jump from one shop to another and not feel a difference at all. Because again, that speaks to the culture, the brand that you're creating. Same thing when a customer shows up. They're like, yeah, this is what I come to expect from this brand in and of itself. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to branding and things, they refer to some of the bigger companies. But for me, I always refer to Chick-fil-A, where regardless of where you are in the world, you kind of know what to expect when you go in there. And that's what's made them so popular, because they're just so consistent in terms of what extrapolates from there. So again, things to look at and think about of like, hey, why is it that when I go to this place in a different place that it feels the same or it feels very different? And those are things to definitely make note of and write down of why. And maybe you'd be able to clearly see a difference of like maybe success or not. And I'm sure people have had success when the branding in one location is a little bit different than another, but more likely than not, I would say the unification of them will make things simpler for multiple team members across the board. All right. And so again, common challenges that we're going through. So keeping branding consistent, managing ad budgets across locations, knowing what shops are performing most, standing out from local competition. And so when it comes to now on the ad budget side, that's probably one of the most common questions that I've gotten all the time is like, hey, should my budget be the same at each location? And really, it's going to depend upon the timing in which you're starting, say, the second shop. If they've both been running for a while, then and the customer base is similar, the size of the shop is similar, and thus the amount of cars that can be taken in, then yes, the ad budget should be similar, if not the same, just for kind of a budgeting purpose. But if the goals and the size of the shops are different, say if one is just getting started, then more than likely the ad spend on the early onset for that newer location is going to be higher, because again, you don't have that reliance upon brand to carry all the weights in the beginning, because Google again is still learning this new thing regardless of how popular your brand is. Now if you're talking about you're getting double-digit locations, then yes, maybe your brand is that strong where it opens, people know what to expect, boom, they know that they are going there, and that's a different story. But not many shop owners, I say, are in that position to be able to get to that point immediately. So typically when a shop is opening or you acquire a new shop, that ad spend is typically going to have to be a little bit higher, because you are trying to get that business in and people to understand now the new culture that's in place, the new brand that maybe came to town and ripped out the old one that was there. And so you're going to need to spend a little bit more money. And then while SEO is building, eventually that Google ad spend can dwindle down and then become a sort of an equal lever along with maybe the other shops that you have. So that's something to definitely think about. There typically will always be a ramp of spend, and that typically, or I guess not ramp, on the flip side, it's going to start at its peak, and then it can slowly work its way down. But also you have ebbs and flows where there's slower seasons than others, where you might need to spend a little bit more to make up that ground. So those are all things to definitely consider if you haven't already when you're looking at a different location. And so here's some things that we'll cover today. We'll go through examples of definitely multi-shops that we help run and manage and see, and you can kind of get an idea of what that consistency should look like, both online on the website, on your Google Business profiles, and kind of going through some of those tips and tricks that we've seen along the way that should make a big impact and kind of shortcutting this ability for yourself, especially as you are growing your overall shop quota. So first and foremost, we're going to be looking at building a unifying brand. And so what that even means and why it's important. And so would you say, I guess for those that are here, would you say that building a brand is important? Just some yeses or nos, and if you do feel that it is important, then we will definitely be grinding through that a little bit more. But okay, we have a bunch of yeses going through. So perfect. I mean, I hope that you're able to see that branding is definitely going to be important. But branding just means that when someone looks at, say, your logo, or someone says your shop name out loud, are they able to trust you, and do they know what to expect? I think in a nutshell, would they be able to say, like, yeah, these are more than likely the values that this business instills across the board? And if not, then again, that's something to work on in your brand, and why there needs to be that consistency. So that's why we always talk about consistency and branding together, because if your brand is not consistent, then to me, that's not a brand at all. You're just kind of throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. There needs to be constant, like, say, even within your social calendar, there needs to be like, yeah, I know that this is a post from this business because it just feels like them. And that the people make decisions based on feelings a lot as well. And so you want to make sure that those feelings are positive and they resonate what you want your brand to represent. And so when customers move between your locations, or even just see your ads, they should instantly know it's your shop. So they drive by, or they see signage up there, and they're like, yeah, I know exactly who that is. Even if they're far away and they can't even read it yet, they know, yep, I know exactly who that is, what that is, and it creates an easy reminder for them to, like, yeah, that's a place that I definitely want to go ahead and visit. And so visual consistency. So here's an example. Again, we have someone has 3 shops that are located in the area. It should be very easy to see them all at the very top of a website. There shouldn't be any mix and matching and indecisiveness of where things are located and where they can be found. And so you want to ensure that logo, fonts, messaging tone, communication that's going out is all, again, very consistent. People know that, oh, it's not, is this a different shop that's reaching out to me all of a sudden through this text message? Because it doesn't even sound like them. And like, those are little things. Maybe you're switching from one CRM to another, and like the messaging that's defaulted is very different. And then it gets sent out, and then people get confused of like, wait, I had this number saved as this thing, but suddenly these messages seem way more spammy lately, or they don't even call me by my name anymore, or whatever it may be. Those little things start to make an impact for individuals. So you want to ensure that any time that you're maneuvering, or you're adding locations, or you're switching systems, that you have that ensurety that the consistency of brand is going to still take place. But if you are changing, say, the old way that you did it, you didn't have one. You didn't have representation of the brand. And then that changes where it needs to be effective, and it gets applied across the board. And then online present wise. So when you have multiple Google business profiles, this is definitely another big question that I've gotten, where it's like, hey, in the business name, should I be putting the location at the end? Do I need to put the old business name there? Can I just have the business name? Does it need to be the legal name and have LLC in it, or whatever it may be? Those are all great and fantastic questions. And so this is what I would suggest. And in the long run, you eventually want them all to be the same thing. So again, when you refer back to someplace like Chick-fil-A, you do not see Chick-fil-A dash street name or Chick-fil-A dash city. Like that's not a thing that they eventually do, because their brand is so strong. And when the brand is cohesive, you're able to select through different locations when you type in the name for Google to pop it up automatically. So eventually you want all your business names to say this. However, when you're just getting started, say you're on the first one, you just acquired Bill's Automotive, that's 10 miles away, and you're like, I do want to change the name. What I would suggest is you would change the name, and then in parentheses, you'd put formerly old business name. And so that way, again, you give that about a 3-month runway. That way Google starts to learn and figure out, but you also do not lose the old SEO traction that the old business had. Because if that goes away, then their brand name had X amount of searches, you delete that out of there, that will fade away very, very quickly, because now there's nothing pointing to this new business name, and Google will get confused. And so you want to ensure that that is there. Again, around that 3-month mark is what we've seen as a comfortable range. Now, some people will have that dash of city. So I would only do that if, again, in your legal business name of the new location, that is what you have a DBA as. And it doesn't hurt to have the city name baked in there, because again, there is some local SEO power of having a city name featured there. But again, having that uniformness of brand makes it look a lot cleaner. And so this is where I would suggest that you go this route at the end of the day, because that will, again, hold that consistency as you continue to build more and more shops and get found a lot quicker through Google's eyes, and your trust will be built again a lot quicker for Google to be able to rank you effectively for a newer location that you have. So again, to repeat, in the beginning, about that 3-month range is where I would recommend you can put formerly, and then put that old business that was there that you acquired, and then after that you take it out, because you want to have the exact business name on there as a part of Google guidelines. But there's sort of a flex period that we've been able to see that also creates a less risk of any sort of flags that happens with Google. But then again, you don't want to lose that inherent power of the old business that was there, especially if they had a fairly strong brand or say decent reviews that were there. That means there's enough people that are probably typing in that name. You could probably even research and see how many times did this old business name get typed, to then determine that, okay, eventually when it fades down, Google will understand that this is just attached. This was the place. And so it will still appear for them. Okay. So hopefully that all makes sense. You want to ensure also like you're updating new photos and putting the new brand on there. So there's so many times where I've seen people take over a Google business profile. One, they're debating whether to keep it or not. If it's 4.5 stars or above, I would say you keep it. Anything less than that, I would strongly consider starting over, unless there's just so many reviews, and then it's a decision a little bit trickier of a decision to be had. If it's under 4 stars, start that thing over. I don't care how many reviews are there. That's going to be really hard for you to like have people look past it, regardless if it's new ownership or not. So you want to be above that 4.5 mark typically. And then you want to make sure you're updating new photos, new signage, new everything within the Google business profile to help it understand that there is a new place in town, and then this brand connects to these other brands that are in the area. All right. And so messaging playbook. So creating a messaging playbook is also going to be very important. And just out of curiosity, does anyone have a messaging playbook out there for their shops? So just a simple yes or no out there. All right, so we got a bunch of no's, which again, to be expected. Not typically do many people have a messaging playbook. And so just to go over what that is, your brand promise is the same everywhere. So each shop can add local charms, so in terms of neighborhood references and whatnot, but you want to have a certain style of how you're embracing community and what you want to do. So if you're heavy into partnering with other local businesses, ensure that all the locations are doing that. If you're big into seasonal promotions, make sure they're all doing that. But then you're also, again, you call people by name every single time, or you always include the city or whatever it may be. Ensure that your style is consistent and you don't have a different voice that is at the different locations. Because again, you don't want people to feel like, oh, I always go to the Savannah location, I don't go to this other location because they treat you way nicer here. That to me, that's good to know as an owner, but there needs to be changes made immediately if people are feeling like they need to pick a favorite because something is outperforming all the others just based on kind of style of messaging. So ensure that consistency is taking place where people can go anywhere. And that's where you know that, yeah, we're building something pretty special here. So your first action, audit your shops. Are your profiles, signage, social media consistent? If not, that's where you need to start. So again, easy way to go through, like I mentioned, go to your Google business profiles. What do you see there? Is there consistency across the board? If not, maybe there's a game plan in terms of how you need to have that changed, or you have a discussion with, if you have a marketing company, have a discussion with them. Be like, hey, what can we do to make this more brand uniformed? And then a game plan should be made fairly quickly there to ensure that some of these things look the same, photos are getting updated, etc. There, look at your social media and say like, hey, you open up Instagram, for example, on one shop and another shop, and do they look similar? Where like, yes, locations and things are being adjusted. The people being mentioned obviously are different because each shop has different people. But like, does the style feel the same? Is the branding there? Maybe even in between social platforms, between Facebook and Instagram, are they should be the same because you can post one time and it goes to both places. But sometimes people are not doing that effectively. So ensure that that consistency is happening across all the different channels, because again, when that starts to fall apart, then people start losing trust in your brand a little bit, and then that's where they open the window of like, or the door of, maybe I'll try someone else this time. So, so we have a question: should multiple locations share a single Instagram account? That's a great question, Andy, and I think it's very easy to have one Instagram account run multiple locations. I think that also depends on preference. If say maybe different people are needing to run different locations, and it's easier to just have, hey, you have access to this location, this location, this location, then that's where you can have multiple accounts running each one. But in my opinion, especially if the business names are the same, then you can have one account running them all, and then just ensure that that consistency is happening across the board. Because really, it's easy to see consistency when it's run under one account, because you can just filter in between the two rather than having to log out, log back into all the different ones. Now that Instagram is ranking on Google, it might be recommended to have a separate account since its location is also location based. Yeah, that's a great point. Where so Instagram posts are now indexed through Google, and so I think this recommendation is in reference to potentially also having at least multiple location business pages. So sometimes people have, and maybe I'm confusing your question there, Andy, but some people will have one account for the brand that then is posting for, say, all the locations, which that I think can work totally fine as well. But yes, because Instagram is now indexing, or Google is now indexing Instagram posts, indexing just means that it affects SEO like rankings. So it's reading the data that's there, reading the post, reading the comments, etc., and then applying that to the trust factor of Google ranking you better or worse. And so if you have multiple locations, ideally you want to have multiple data points that are feeding to each location individually. So it could be very effective to then have multiple pages for each location, regardless if the brand name is the same across the board. Because now there's, again, location uniqueness for each one, and then you can have local SEO power that's going for each type of page. So if that was more along the lines of the question, then that's where I would recommend that way. But within, say, one master account, you can have multiple pages that you manage. And so in that sense, that's where I would recommend having one login account that then manages the different pages within there. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So if you have one account, just include locations and captions. Yeah, exactly. And then, perfect. So hopefully that answers that when it comes to social. And we'll have a bit more on that as we go through. So centralizing. So centralize your brand, visual identity, logo, colors, fonts. There's shops that I've even seen have brand guidelines. So brand guidelines is where you have like, hey, font is this by default across the board. This is where the hex colors of the logo. Hex colors is where you have that that hashtag and then a bunch of like letters and numbers to give the exact color code of what your brand is, because there are 100 different versions of red, and you want to ensure that it doesn't look different in one place or another. It looks, again, very uniform. Logo sizing should be this way and this size by default. Those are things that you want to have. You don't want to have one type of logo here, one type of logo there, different things that are in different places. Your core messaging and offers should always be similar, and I think it's a great thing from Hormozy, where it can be the same offer throughout the year, and then you just repackage it in different wrapping paper, in a sense of you just name it different for different seasons or whatever it may be, or you name it something that's particular to a local area that you're in, where it will resonate with everyone, where they know that terminology, or they know that given place in town, that they know like, oh, this person is here, they're in community, they understand what's going on, and they created something around it, but it's an offer that works in January and works in October. Like you just know the consistency of when the offer will work. But and then shared creative assets, so templates for posts, ads, emails. This is where I know you want to have as organic a post as possible, but template in the sense of, again, the style of the post is where like maybe your logo is always on the bottom right versus the top left versus the middle, or whatever it may be, and it you have a certain length to the post, and etc. Like you want to make sure that there's consistency there. Okay. And centralizing marketing saves time, and that's also another big thing where you do not want to have to overthink what you have to post, and the like, oh, what style did I do again that was just last week when I made a post, and you have to refer back to it, try to make the same exact thing. That's where having a template, and then you just kind of rip and replace the photo, and going through that makes things a lot easier to do at scale. Okay, when you're one shop, and you can be a lot more intimate with it, but as you're running multiple locations, you want to make sure that you're able to be scalable and have that brand consistency. Marketing HQ model. So the best model is shop decision makers set brand guidelines, campaigns, templates, and shops can customize for local use. So again, this is where the brand guidelines came into play of like, hey, ensure that people are using this certain color, this certain hex code, this certain logo here, and there. And then for local use of like, hey, in your area, you're able to adjust these given points because your local community is different than this community. And again, even make a list of what those local things are in the different areas, so people know what things they should be labeling towards. And then centralized ads. So run one central campaign with location targeting instead of separate scattered campaigns. It saves budget and gives you better control. And so again, it also depends on the strategy when running ads. One central campaign, especially if you are in a fairly tight area with your multiple locations, you can run a campaign, a local targeting campaign around the entire area that funnels to one landing page with multiple locations, where then they can select the location that's closest to them. But also, again, if local community is powerful enough where there's like, hey, this ad is only going to work for this place, then definitely you want to run a separate ad campaign, and not just be like, oh, because it only works for this one area, I'm not going to run it. That wouldn't be a viable strategy either. But again, as you're looking at budget holistically, if you're one that doesn't have a budget per location, you're like, yeah, I have an ad spend and this is what we need across the board, then it could be a very effective way to be able to run and manage your spend there. Okay, and then this is a quick example, as you can see here, of just posts of the style. You can know right away that this is the feel that this person is going for when they're making their post, and this is something that you discuss with your marketing team. Like, this is the feel that I want to go for. Ideally, again, you have as many organic photos as possible. Not everyone is good about getting real photos, so sometimes you have to mix in some stock ones in there. Ideally, though, you never have to use stock photos, and it's just all organic that rolls through. Okay, and then you something that's worked for us is that you kind of theme different days of the week out, so then that way you know what to expect on a Monday versus a Wednesday versus a Friday. There's just different styles out there. One day is it's all about customer testimonials, and another day is all about the types of services that you have to offer. Another day is employee appreciation. But again, that way you know what to expect throughout the day. And as you're coming up with new posts, that's sometimes what people complain about the most, is like, I just don't know what to post. Like I sit there and I don't even know what to throw up. And so that's where having a template, having certain days of the week that you plan out and know what is to be expected on that post, make things a lot easier for yourself, especially if you're running this yourself, or say you have a kid that's running it for you, then that this all helps ensure that that is taking place. So now we're going to go over some tools, some different tech softwares and things that we leverage and use that hopefully will make some of these things a lot more achievable. Because I know it's one thing to say like, oh, you need to do this and that, and we give no ideas of how you can do it yourself. We want to go through exactly like these are some of the tools that we leverage that has made it very time efficient to ensure that we're able to build, again, multiple calendars at scale across the board that then also imply with like throwing in the organic photos and making it unique for each and every one. Okay, so one tool that I think everyone should be leveraging is going to be Canva. Canva is where you're able to create templates and have a lot of brand control. It creates a lot of the graphics and whatnot that you see probably on lots of social media posts and across the board. They're one of the most effective tools that are out there in the world. And they even have AI applied to it. And I'll have a deeper breakdown here in a little bit. But then we have Meta Business Suite that you want to ensure that that helps one build ads. You can post to multiple platforms in terms of Facebook and Instagram, has analytics, etc. there. Your Google Business Profile and understanding how to post in there. Some people don't even realize that you can. Definitely want to do that. ChatGPT, so creating content in terms of ideas for posts and whatnot at scale. Descript, CapCut, that's when it comes to short form video editing, and if you're looking into creating reels, things like that. And then Adobe is going to be long form video editing when videos are, again, well longer than a minute long. All right, so Canva here. So this is going to allow you to streamline kind of visuals across multiple locations. So this way you can have a template of what one thing says. You just change out the location name, change out the address, phone number, kind of the go-to call to actions on the different places. And then boom, you have your new post just for a different location, but then it ensures consistency across the board. And Canva is a free tool that, I mean, limited abilities if you use the free version. When you use the pro version is also, I believe is not too pricey, but you may not even need it if again you're only using it sparingly, but still a very useful tool to be able to play with, and a useful skill in my opinion to have to be able to, again, create little banners or things that you want a new signage in the shop, or you literally want to create artwork to throw a different piece of artwork to throw on the wall. You can easily just slap that together in here, and then Canva even prints it and sends it to your shop for you, and you can print it on whatever you want to have it printed on. So there's so many different things that you're able to do with Canva. Very useful and a powerful tool. All right, Meta Business Suite. So this is where you're gonna manage your ads, you're gonna schedule your posts, do all those things, again, at scale. So scheduling posts are so crucial. You do not want to go to each individual business page, manually post in there and go through it. That just is going to take way too much time. You can schedule out posts within the Meta Business Suite for a really long time. Typically we do it for a calendar month. Like you create that, get it edited and approved, and then boom, you just post it at scale for the whole month and schedule it out. Makes your life way easier. You can post to multiple platforms, etc. Then when you're running ad campaigns across multiple locations, you can run it through one master account and then see what's working, what's not, track performance per location, and being able to leverage the location settings that are there that's linked to your main business account through ads. So definitely, if you haven't leveraged Meta Business Suite, I would highly recommend playing with it. Sometimes going in there is like learning a foreign language for the first time, and there's just all kinds of buttons and things to use, and it gets very complicated. But there are lots and lots and lots of YouTube videos on these, so it could be a very beneficial thing to be able to walk through and use. But I would highly recommend just familiarizing yourself with that. If you do not have a business account created, create a business account. You just attach it to your business page, and that way now you have one You have a separate account that runs ads that's not your personal, like tied to your personal profile. So a lot of people make that mistake of when they create an ad account, it defaults to their personal profile, and then it's a lot harder to say attach people to manage it and things like that. And sometimes you have the wrong card on file. So having a business account that's running those ads, it's gonna make a big difference there. Okay. The Google Business Profile. So this is, again, probably one of your most important places that you need to understand. If you're at multi-shop, I mean, I strongly assume that you know what that is or where that is, but you want to ensure that you are managing them all with ideally the same email that has ownership across the board, because then that way you're able to toggle through and select the different ones when you're at the business .google.com view versus having to log in and out of different emails. It allows that multi-shop listing on one dashboard. That's going to be a big thing there. And then that way you can update all things at scale, do regular postings in there, be able to upload photos to the right place, etc. So you want to ensure that, again, you're making this as convenient as possible to be able to run, not as difficult as possible. And ChatGPT, I'm sure everyone has heard of it at this point, but a big thing that we do is we leverage it to create more ideas of how things should be posted. And so what you can even do is create a custom GPT. So a custom GPT is where you sort of teach a specific model of how you want the voice. So I want every time I type something in, I want it to be our brand. So what you have to do is teach, say within one custom GPT, what your brand even is. So that way ChatGPT starts understanding, yep, okay, every time you type something in, you want it to be this way and this way and this way, and not this way, because we've already talked about that. You don't like it that way. And so then that way, when you're typing in, hey, I need new ideas for the shop for this week, it already understands the kinds of things that it should prompt for you versus not. And again, it takes a little bit of time to create a custom GPT the way that you want it to, but those are definitely time well spent, in my opinion, because you want to quickly get to the answers that you're expecting versus spinning your wheels and each time that you're asking ChatGPT something and it's not, again, figuring out exactly what you want or learn. So for us, I mean, this has been crucial as we manage so many different accounts, because each voice is slightly different, and that way we're not mixing and matching voices across the board. So as you build your brand, having that consistently, teach it because the answers that ChatGPT gives are only as good as the prompts that you give it. So you want to ensure that you're teaching it the right way, the right prompts, so that way when things spit out, it doesn't look like straight AI garbage, because the more inorganic that you are feeling to the community, probably the more detached that your business will start to be. So you want to make sure that this should be, again, a good shortcut to create a mass amount of ideas, and then from there you build the organicness of what things should be, not just, hey, just build the posts for me. That, again, because Google is indexing a lot of these social media posts now, the more and more AI that's there, the more and more less like trustworthy that will start to seem, because there's just nothing real or organic about it. That's not like kind of a path that you want your kind of social brand to take. So highly recommend spending a little bit of time of helping ChatGPT understand what you want it to do, and then from there it will be a very, very powerful tool. Saves a lot of time. All right, and Descript. So this is a cool software tool. So say you are doing a video welcome for the business. This is where, like, hey, someone comes in with a video and you're saying, hey, welcome to Bill's Automotive, and this is what we believe and what we do, and that's the video that you want to have on your website, for example, or on your YouTube channel. And you also want to make it on on social. Descript is really awesome, where you just literally plop the video in. It literally transcripts in all the words that you said. You can edit in and out of some of the words. You can filter out some of your when you say and like and things like that. You can filter those out, and it's pretty cool. You can make it say something different. Granted, the lips will not suddenly just change and move to the way that a different word will be, but you can adjust so many different things in there that is really nifty and cool. So it could be a really, really cool tool to play with, and it was really, really fun for me the first time I learned about the tool. But we definitely use it and leverage it to repurpose a lot of different social ads. Obviously, things like this webinar where we want to clip certain features, that's a tool that we use for things like that. And then CapCut is going to be fast and mobile video editing. So you want, obviously, a lot of videos get seen via the mobile phone. And so you want to ensure that it looks good directly from the phone. And CapCut is going to be a great tool to leverage, again, when that is the video style that you're expecting majority of the views to come from. And then Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects, that's again when you're getting a little bit fancier in terms of the types of video that you want to do, a lot more longer length video trainings, etc., that you'd be putting on YouTube more than likely for this. And this is going to cost more money as a software tool, but still a great tool to be able to leverage. Just wanted to be able to walk through and share a bunch of our different tools that we've seen work really well. Okay. And so the balance, brand versus local. So you want consistency, but customers also want local relevance. So the trick is to ensure that you're balancing both local ads and SEO. You want to ensure that for each location, you're putting the given area that is there. So that's where things are going to be different when you're targeting for the different locations. You don't want to accidentally mix and match and be too general about how you serve an entire area to just capture it for everything. You also want to have it for a specific location. When people see that something is local to them, they're more likely to take action and buy. So you want to ensure that you are doing those little things. And then local social media. So encourage posts about local events, sponsorships, things that we've, again, all talked about. It's going to be each location should be posting about the different local events and things that are there in the area. We'll be doing local offers within your area as well, and what that should look like. This one, as you can see, it can go across the board for all locations though, because it has a uniform brand and the overall offering was going to be at multiple locations. So little things that you can do there, but if something is only going to be at one, ensure that you're being very specific of where that should be. All right. All right, and then some data and tracking. So obviously, as you go through this all, it's not going to make sense if you don't understand where the data is coming from. And you can't scale without knowing what's working, what's not. So ensure that you have good data, and then that data is spitting out valuable information. So you should be able to track the basics. Again, calls, leads, schedule appointments, revenue by location in comparison to where the ads are running, etc. Hopefully you have all these types of metrics. If not, ensure that at a base level, you're tracking these things per location against your different marketing avenues. And then also it'd be helpful to have a roll-up version of like, hey, all my locations, what does it spend across the board, and what we're making, because eventually you're gonna, as the business owner across all the shops, you're gonna want to see that high level view, like how much am I spending, how much am I making. You want to have that sum up, but also as you drill in all your different, say you have different general managers at each store, you want to make sure that they see their particular location, how things are working as well, because that's what they can actually affect and change. Ad budget allocation. So we chatted about this a little bit already, so I'm not going to dig too much more into that. But having a quarterly review, I think, is a good check for yourself. If you're not checking it weekly, monthly, etc., at least once a quarter, look over the marketing, what's worked, what hasn't, so that way you know where maybe more budget can go or where budget needs to be adjusted, etc. There. All right, so that is everything today. Any other questions and comments? Again, I appreciate everyone for attending this meeting. As I've seen questions, I made sure that I tried to go through and answer it. For those watching on the replay on YouTube, thank you again for so much for being there. Throw in your questions and comments down below. I'll make sure I go through and answer those. For those that need a little bit more hands-on approach, we do free strategy sessions. So if you want to give us a call, scan the QR code, go to our website, book a strategy session. We'll be able to analyze what your kind of current local visibility looks like, your current brands, and give you suggestions of what is working, what is not. And again, if we end up being a partner for you that can help in any of the different elements of marketing, then we would love to do so. We also have a free checklist. And so that way, if you're one that likes to do things yourself, you like to write it down and check it off. We have a checklist you can download and then, or print off, and then just go through the different aspects of your online marketing. Ensure that these different elements are there and taken care of. We have a free Facebook group. And so if you're not already in there, if you just type in Auto Repair Shop Owners Mastermind, it's about 2,000 people in there where we talk about the different aspects that are working in the shop, different things that are not, marketing updates that we see via the world of Google. And if there's things to be aware about, we throw them all in there. And we have a book on Amazon. So if you want to check it out, the Drive More Business Step-by-Step Guide, my wife and I wrote a book that kind of breaks down, I mean, click by click, different pictures that you see online to do different aspects of online marketing. All right. So thank you all for being here today and taking the time out of your day to spend time with me. Hopefully this webinar was helpful, but hopefully you all have a great rest of your August, and we will talk again next time. See you guys. Bye.